Hi, welcome. My name is Danelle, and on this channel I do a lot of painting, especially outdoors. I do some studio painting, I do some drawing. I've been an artist for about 40 years. Have you ever been painting along and you're having so much fun and the colors look so beautiful and everything just seems so great, and then in the last 3 to 5 minutes you overdo it and you completely make a mess of all of the work that you just did? Well, that's what I did in this painting, and I was really bummed out, and I just let it sit for a couple of days, and then at almost 9 p.m. last night I had an epiphany. I decided I knew what to do to correct that mistake. And so I have some video footage for you. I do not have the footage of me scraping off the bad part. I was just so excited to get that off of there and get going. But I do have the final footage of me fixing the spot. And my challenge for you is, I bet you can see right where I went wrong in this painting. So let's get started. I will start the painting. Here's my palette setup, and there's my Rosemary & Company brushes, 12 and an 8 and a 10, all flats. I like to start with those for my alla prima paintings, and then I have a liner brush and a little filbert. I have titanium white, cadmium yellow, light, yellow ochre, cadmium orange, cadmium red light, sap green, cerulean blue, titanium blue. Then I have some Mars, or not Mars black, but ivory black at the bottom, which I never did use. I have this canvas that I put a ground on in this crazy pink color, and it's been sitting around for a bit. I thought it would be fun to use at some point, so I just grabbed it and decided to use it for this. Thought it would be a nice match for this kind of colorful pond garden painting that was in Point Defiance Park in Tacoma. So I'm just sketching in with a little bit of I think this is ultramarine blue, a little sap green, a little titanium white, a little bit of yellow ochre, just kind of getting a sketch in there. And then now I'm putting in the darks, just using that sort of alla prima method of starting with your darks, getting those blocked in. And that blue looks so beautiful against that bright pink. So this part's always fun when you first start and you see those luscious colors going on. Just trying to get some blue in there. That tree in the back has a lot of sky showing through it, so I wanted to get some sky in there that would come through later. Got my sky reflection on the water. Definitely brighter colors than were in the real pond. I will desaturate the pond reflection a little bit later. Just kind of getting those trees in there. The evergreens feel very familiar, being that we have mostly evergreens here in Ketchikan. Trying to get a little bit of that orange color on that shrub. And I see that kind of pinkish shrub there in the middle. That later ends up being a little bit of a problem. It's too light and larger than it should be. Getting the cool color of that closer shrub. And then I saw some orange color in the back there, in the center, under that yellow shrub, but that also becomes a problem later. I made it come too far out in front of that tree, so I adjust that later. And I'm getting that kind of grayish color in that shrub. It actually started out pretty good, but that shrub ends up being my big problem later, you'll see. And having fun with those oranges and yellows. Usually I would paint from the background to the foreground, but I wanted to get that sky color in there first. And then getting those irises in there. I think that's what those are. I don't think they're reeds. They're getting the cool color that you see on the cool and dark color on the bottom. Just trying to get those darks. Saw a little bit of a reddish color there on the right in the deep shadow, and then getting those greenish murky color of the pond in there and trying to get the reflections of those shrubs. I feel like the reflections worked out pretty well. Some more irises on the side there. Probably should have started with a darker green to get the darks in there first, because I had a hard time getting lights on top of that and getting some shape in there. The shape is a little bit too fat. There's more shadow in back there. So I was feeling pretty happy with this at this point. I was liking the colors and the composition. I'm trying to get some of those reflections in the pond there. And there, I'm kind of knocking back that blue a little bit. Just getting some of those reflections of the iris fronds. Trying to get some darks back in there now. It's always harder to get your darks in after the lights, but sometimes that's just how it goes. And then go back into the tree. Now I'm putting the sky holes in there. That's something I had never done before I started doing landscape paintings about 5 months ago. I saw Malcolm Dewey create his paintings of especially deciduous trees this way on his YouTube channel. I've watched him a lot and I've been trying to emulate his skills, but he's much better than I am. He's been doing it many years. I'd recommend checking out his channel if you're interested in landscape painting in a sort of impressionist, light-filled, alla prima style. So it's kind of coming together here fairly well. That sort of floating orange blob in the center isn't helping anything much. The shrub in this, the orangish colored shrub in the middle is too bright. And let's see if you can see right when I make the most disastrous error. It's coming up here very soon. And I actually didn't really notice it till I was watching this footage after I had painted this. It's actually a pretty useful technique for learning is videoing your painting process and then watching it later. You can see where you've made mistakes, small and large, and see what you should do better. Sometimes for me, a lot of my mistakes are just that I'm going too fast and not being thoughtful enough. And here comes my biggest mistake of the painting. And you'll see it in a minute. Here it comes. I don't know why I made that decision, but that big black, first of all, those are too horizontal, and the one on top is too dark. Okay, here I am back in my studio, and I want to tackle this painting again because that was a big mistake that I made. I did come in a couple days ago and I scraped off that dark portion that I put there, that kind of weird stripe, and lightened that up a little bit. I think there's still some other problems. You can see right here, right there, I don't know what this weird little floating island is. And this is too prominent as well. So what I did, because I found this composition in real life and in the photo, it was just so chaotic that I kept losing myself in all of those layers and colors and chaos of the plants. So what I did was I took the photo and I did this to it and just outlined the shapes to just kind of clarify where everything was overlapping and to just get the shapes in there so I'm not just all over the place. So I want to work on this one more time and hopefully finish it this morning. So let's get started on that. I am using the same palette that I was using when I started this painting. I just put some plastic on it. So that's what it looks like now. I just put some plastic wrap over the top, and all the colors are still, this is the nice thing about oils, all the colors are still usable and wet. I even have some of my mixes in here still. So let's get started on seeing if I can finally get this finished. There's, this shrub here is much darker than I was making it, so I'm going to kind of start there. Guess I'll just sort of work left to right, sort of. This will help these reeds down here. I think maybe those are I don't know, maybe, what kind of plants are those? This is very cool colored, very cool colored. I'm going to add a little more blue to this mix. I think that'll also help these reeds down here to stand out because they're very warm colored. Mixing some cerulean and some ultramarine with a little bit of sap green. I don't use sap green very often, but I'm trying a few different things here. Trying not to get too fussy. It's a problem with working too long on a painting is you can end up making it a little too fussy and overworked. So I'm going to try to just fix the problems I see and not get overworked here. Added a little bit of titanium white to the mixture for the top here where it's catching some light. And that comes clear over here. Wiping off some of that yellow that's getting on there. Try to get the effect of this a little bit more white. Sort of get that soft, fluffy effect that's happening up on top here. And I need to get rid of this weird island here. I'm just mixing a little bit of some ultramarine, some yellow ochre, because I need to come in here and reestablish this dark. Oh, that's not dark enough. Maybe add a little bit of alizarin crimson to darken that up. There's a lot of contrast right here. Get rid of that weird floating orange cloud. Don't want to use too much thinner. I'm using an odorless thinner. Okay, that's a little better as far as the orange cloud goes. Now I'm going to put some yellow in here to reestablish this shrub. I'll make it fairly dark though. Oops, that's too dark. There is actually a small shrub in here. I think that's what I was seeing, but I think it's too fussy. I'm not going to put that in. That's probably enough. And this is much darker than that, so that's got to go. It might even, no, I won't remove it entirely. But it is much darker than that, so that's got to be altered. Comes down here, this tree comes all the way down here. I think that's a little better. Still might be too vivid though. Let's knock that back a little. These two kind of meld together the way that plants tend to do. Kind of go with that. This is pretty dark back here, right here. Now this is the shrub that I really lost control of, and that's why I put these shapes in here. I just outlined them. It's kind of, it could be even simplified more. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main shapes that go here, and a small one up here, big one here, and then a smaller one here. So let's see if I can capture that. Get some. It's a very gray color. I kept wanting to make it very pink, but that's actually a pretty dark grayish color. So this paint underneath is still kind of wet, so let's see. Let's just kind of draw in the darks, where the darks are there. There's one there. It goes like that. There's one that comes like this. It's another area of dark that comes about like that. And then this one down here. Those are sort of the main ones. There's another little shape there. So let's see what I can do with that. There's quite a bit of paint on there, so we'll see if I can do anything with it. I'm mixing some sap green and alizarin crimson to get kind of a gray color. So I'm going to put in the darks here, right at the bottom. That is just kind of sliding over the top. I might have to scrape that off. We'll see. That might work. Well, let's see. So there's that shape. There's another small one here. Ooh, that's just sliding right across. Try again. There's one there. There's one here. There's one right here that's dark. And then this one here is actually light on the bottom, where the light catches the bottom of this. So the whole thing here is actually fairly dark. Okay, let's see if we can get the mid-tones now. I mean, it looks a little messy, but okay, I'm using the same mixture, just adding some titanium white now. And they kind of are directional like that. Let's get these mid-tones. Probably should wait till this is drier before trying this, but it's been bothering me, so I'm doing it now. It's a little too red. Add a little more yellow and some cerulean. There we go. And then underneath there, it's just a little greener under here. I'm trying to stroke in the direction that I see the leaves going. Okay, now we just need to get the highlights in, which should be easier than trying to get the darks in. So that color is still, it's kind of this rusty red color. So maybe I'll add a little bit of cadmium. light, but it's still a very grayish looking plant. So I'm not going to make it as vivid as I had it. The vivid, that kind of pink color was just a little much. I'm going to add a little orange, a little bit of cadmium red. Almost as a purplish cast. Let's try that. That purple might be a nice contrast with that orange tree above too. I'll try a little titanium white, ultramarine, cerulean, a little bit of alizarin. See how that looks. I need some clean thinner. My solvent turned orange. All right, let's try this color. It does get a little greener down here. Add some of this mid-tone, this light tone here. That's much more interesting shape than it was. So I think that's a lot better. I'm going to sharpen these back up. Just get a few more highlights in here. I'm wiping my brush off a lot because it's picking up that darkness in the back and then reloading. These reeds are much cooler in color. They're a little more in shadow than these. I think these are irises. I don't know why I couldn't think of that earlier. Picking up a little more light on that side. Just let's reestablish some of these darks. I think I'm just fussing unnecessarily now. Another spot I wanted to clean up is up here where the sky holes are, where I put on such thick paint that they kind of turned into a bit of a mess, so I'll maybe touch that up a little. I'm using an old, fairly stiff brush, old hog bristle. See a little bit of the pink of the canvas showing through here. That's actually kind of fun. I think that's probably it. Don't know if I want to darken this over here. It feels like it's running off of the side just a little bit. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey of completing this painting. It's always so fun when you get started painting, and then it feels like it's going really well, and then I get excited about the colors and the shapes, and it's such a bummer when at the very last minute you do something that really messes it up, like when I put that weird mark over this area here. But no matter what, you can either completely repaint a piece, you can, if it's oil painting, which is this one, then you can take a palette knife or a paper towel, some solvent, you can just wipe it off. That's what I did. And then I just kind of slept on it for actually a couple of days, deciding what to do. And so I decided to get that photo out and really study the shapes. It's a great learning experience. I have been oil painting for 40 years, but landscapes are kind of new to me. They feel kind of chaotic compared to painting an animal. I'm used to painting dog portraits, I've done cat portraits, I've painted octopus, I've painted whales, I have painted donkeys, I have painted all kinds of animals, but landscapes are really challenging. All the plants are overlapping, and then you have the atmospheric perspective. And the color shifts are really subtle. So this is new, it's really fun, but I'd encourage you, if you have a painting that doesn't turn out as good as you would like, just try again, start over, go back to your reference. You can go back, if you could go outside and repaint on scene, that would be excellent. I did this one in Seattle first, and I'm up here in Ketchikan, almost 1,000 miles north. So I couldn't go back there, but I did take a reference picture. I also suggest always taking a reference picture when you're out there, because sometimes you might want to come back and either fix it or repaint it in the studio. If you'd like to see the vlog I made of painting several paintings while I was in the Northwest Washington area, then check out the card up above. And I'd love to have you comment on that. And you can see the watercolor painting that I did while I was there. That is the same painting as this. Anyway, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear about your experiences painting en plein air in your studio. What mediums do you use? What do you do when painting doesn't go the way you want? Do you redo it? Do you try to fix it? And anyway, hit that like button if you found this useful or entertaining or anything intriguing. And consider subscribing. I'd love to have you in the community. It's really fun to see what other people are doing and hear your comments. Stay creative and have fun.